the most widely accepted reason where women specifically go for long breaks is really maternity, right? Anything beyond that can lead to assumptions. Why couldn't she manage it better? What is it that she couldn't do? I remember I came back and I'm like, how will I write my first email? What does Outlook look like? Will I even be able to log in? Will I remember my password? There were just so many self-doubts.
People panic very easily. They are excited, then they have double thoughts, and as soon as they get into break, they start panicking, especially those who are taking a break for self-improvement. In the first month, don't do anything. Don't do anything productive. Those people who are confused about taking a career break, they always tell me one thing, that if I take career break, what will I do? Because we are always conditioned to be productive.
Welcome everyone to today's workshop hosted by Pivot on taking a career break and successfully returning to work. I have two very outstanding speakers with me here. So we have Mayank Sharma and Sunaina Kaul. Thank you so much both for making time for this, and really excited to learn a lot about how you have navigated this career transition, career break, and non-linear career journeys that we have had, because that's a topic that's very close to my heart. And I'll share why, because I'm the founder of Pivot, for those who don't know me, and I started Pivot because about 3-4 years ago, I started coming across a lot of people who had very non-linear career journeys. So they were thinking not just climbing the typical career ladder, meaning going from one company to another, trying to secure a better role or a promotion or things like that, but rather they were really changing their core element of their career. Could be their domain or industry, could be sometimes that they're going from an employee role to a founder's role, similar to what I believe, Mayank, both you and I have done previously, or taking a break in their career for various reasons. And that's something that has so far, at least in my view, it has so far been seen as non-linear because it's not normal. It's not normal, and it's not seen as a good thing within corporate that people take some time off. But what I saw these 3-4 years ago was that a lot of people were considering these kind of breaks for various reasons, whether it was their own personal reasons or sometimes even professional reasons. So I just thought it would be great that we have a session where we learn from folks who are either taking a break themselves and how they have navigated it, or they have also designed policies on the behalf of companies to be more flexible, to allow for different types of career journeys, so that you're focused less on the linear versus non-linear, but rather the skills and the experience that the person brings to the table. So that's a bit of the context, and I hope everybody who is here is looking forward to that. We have almost 40 people already, so really let's get the show on the road. I want to have Sunaina, you share a bit about yourself, your intro with us, if that's okay, just trying to have a bit of understanding of what your journey has been so far.
Sure. So as regularly, did my graduation in psychology honors. And, as any person would have it, I'm talking a couple of decades back, I think there was always this stick on the head to say that you have to get married by a particular age. You have to go ahead. There were these timelines which were identified for you. And for me, MBA happened because I was looking at a shortcut. And human resources was, of course, a very natural, place where I really found home, looking at the psychology background that I had. And I think after that, there's actually been no looking back. So I started off my career with an organization called Hutch. And it was a very interesting time in my career because that is the time when telecom was really expanding in the country. Post which I moved on to work with United Health Group, now known as Optum, and that was the time where they were looking at expanding in India and going ahead and increasing their operations across the country. I think that was again very interesting and a learning journey where I was really looking at HR generalists, so looking at different countries, across India, APAC, Australia, going ahead, managing legal, compliance, contingency planning. And that was also the time where my career was taking a slight bit of a shift because I did have great leaders and mentors who felt that I could do better in employee relations and compliance kind of a function. So I think one of the pieces which has been really interesting. Okay, am I audible
Yeah,
now?
Sunaina, I was actually going to let you finish and then point out if it's possible for you to come closer to your mic and also
I'm
maybe.
actually right here.
Oh,
Is
okay.
this better?
It's better. Yeah, I think you might just want to
All right.
speak up a little bit. Yeah, and also maybe
All
if
right.
you can lower your camera because we're
It is.
missing
It's
part of your
already
face.
right there.
There
Okay,
we
and
go.
Robbie just got something to sit on. All right, great.
All right,
So
thank
I
you.
think after that, it really became about contributing to redesigning things like performance management systems, leading HR transformation journey, and of course, after that, it's been with American Express, where again I was part of the Center of Excellence for Employee Relations. And looking back at the journey now, it's been with Qualcomm. It's been about 8.5 years, where I take care of employee relations and labor relations, and take care of close to about 16 countries. And it's just been a phenomenal journey. Yes, I think if I really look back today, I wanted to always have a career in talent acquisition. So I think where I've landed is absolutely the opposite, which is more like transformation. But I think it's absolutely been a joy and a pleasure, and definitely not leaving.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I think one thing that we have in common is a bit of this HR background, and I want to bring in Mayank into the conversation as well. I think Mayank, you also have mostly HR background, but I know you have taken some roads less taken out there. So would love to know more about your journey as well.
Sure, great. So, good evening, everyone. This is Mayank, and I belong from a very small city in Madhya Pradesh called Ujjain, which is known for the Mahakal temple. So, I did my schooling from here and then moved to Indore, did computer engineering because back in 2000, this was the way forward. You do good in school, you do engineering, you try for JEE, you fail, you get into some other college, and then you prepare for your MBA. So, similar trajectory I had. I worked as a software engineer in Pune for a year, and then I was able to get into XLRI. So got into, graduated in 2017, and from campus I was hired by Reliance. So I worked in a manufacturing unit as an HR business partner. Post Reliance, I switched to Asian Paints, where I was handling HR, security, and CSR portfolio for a greenfield project. Once I was done with my education debt, I always had this itch that I want to be an entrepreneur. And this is where the first career break happened for me. It was unplanned. I didn't even know there's a term called career break. The greenfield project, for those who don't know, it's when a manufacturing unit is in a construction phase. So basically, you don't have anything; it's just a piece of land, and construction is going on. And from an HR perspective, also there are no processes; everything is manual. It was a 6-day work week, so we were working like 15, 16, 18 hours a day, crazy work hours. A lot of things happened. There was political pressure. I was just 26-year-old. I was handling a strike by local villagers. So a lot of things happened. And by the end, I felt I'm completely burnt out. I don't have any fuel left in my engine to, immediately start my entrepreneur journey. So I just thought I will just take some time off. I will just travel. This is back in 2019. So I roamed around the country. I traveled 4, 5 locations, and then I settled in Goa with a friend who became my co-founder. We brainstormed on a lot of ideas, eventually settled for a one in travel segment. And as fate had it, within the next week, lockdown happened. So everything we have worked upon for last 3 months went for a toss. So we have to now pivot. So we pivoted to something we thought we can run online. And that was where my first startup Differ was born. It was a career guidance venture for 9th to 12th class students, where we felt we will tell them how to take informed career decision, also spread awareness about different careers. That means not conventional careers like engineering and science. We tried various models. It was lockdown in between. I had a very severe COVID. Once I recovered, I had dengue. So a lot of things happened here and there. And eventually, 2 years back, I decided I should return to corporate because I was not able to scale my venture, though it was profitable, but not in the way it should have scaled. So from last 2 years, I was in Tata 1MG. First, I joined in the HR strategy role, the founder's office. And from last 1.5 years, I was heading the talent, rewards, and performance portfolio there. Coincidentally, 2 weeks back, Arjun approached me that I want you to do this session, and I said it's a good coincidence because I'm starting my second career break. So just 12th August was my last working day. It's been 10 days. So this is where I am currently.
Yeah, it was quite a coincidence, Mayank, that you were just getting started. So I think it's a perfect timing. The stars have aligned. I think it's a good time to do this particular session today for various reasons. Before I share that, just quickly, I want to tell people a little bit about myself because I think there might be people in the room who don't know much about me or about our startup Pivot. So my name is Arjun, and I'm the founder of Pivot, which is hosting this session. And what we do at Pivot is fairly simple. We see that a lot of people get stuck in their careers for various reasons. It could be that you're just dissatisfied in your job and you're not growing. Could be that you have found something else that you think is, a bigger passion for you or could be a better fit for you. Could be an industry domain change or level in the org change or any other inflection point you're going through in your career. That's where we come in, and our end goal is to help people make those transitions successfully with a very personalized career support and mentorship, guidance, tools that can help you get there quickly. We'll talk more about that through the rest of the conversation, but I want to get back to the topic. So, again, the reason we are doing this workshop is not just because more and more people are considering a work break or just spending time away from work. It's also because there are very rigid mindsets and HR practices in corporate systems today, and that is something that's gradually starting to change. But most people are scared to take a break because they feel there will be some penalty that they'll have to face by corporates, right? And they have to think multiple times because they don't want to leave the workforce if they think it's going to be hard to rejoin. Other reasons might also be personal, like sometimes you just don't have a financial bandwidth enough to take a break, right? So there are a lot of reasons why people want to take a break, but also a lot of reasons which keep them on the fence thinking whether it's the right step in the career or not. So that is one of the reasons that we wanted to do this. So the thing that I would like to get started with, and Sunaina, I would love to hear your perspective on this thing first, is what are some of the situations that you feel that it's justified or that people should consider strongly taking a break? Um, is there some sort of a framework that they can use to make their decision slightly easier as to when it's good to take a break versus not?
Sure. I think while a couple of the reasons you really touched upon, first, I would just want to be sure, am I audible? Is it better? All right,
Yes.
perfect.
Yes, perfect.
I think while some of them you touched upon, but I think taking a career break can really be a significant decision and is often driven by personal and professional factors. And I think the some of them that at least I have come across is, I think the most common one that we see is a burnout and a stress. So which means if you're overwhelmed, you're constantly burnt out, this is also a break that really allows you to recharge, gain your mental and physical health. The second, which is again the most common thing, and I'm sure all of us have seen in our attrition, trackers, is the personal development, where what has got us here is not going to take us further. Are we learning new skills? Do we need to engage, in personal projects? Probably need to dedicate and focus on, probably meeting different people, going ahead and really maybe there's another stream which kind of excites us. The third, again, which is the most common that I have seen, is about family and caregiving, where, whether it's a newborn, supporting a sick family member, aging parents, in-laws, partners, those are the places, while these are the top three that come to my mind. But the others which we've really seen is in terms of travel and, where people are like, hey, we need to experience new cultures or probably take a gap here, and that's fine. I think look at, what is it that this freedom has to offer beyond the work commitment. The others, which I think, which I've seen, and probably being in Bangalore, I think it's very, very positive, is about starting any kind of a business or having an entrepreneurial aspiration. I think this is one city, at least over the last couple of years that I've worked here, the career break that you take out here, and you give yourself the time and space to develop your business idea, get it off the ground is something which I think you're a lot more open in a city like this, at least that I have seen. The other two which come to my mind are in terms of, one is of course health reasons, where you feel that mental wellness, really kind of taking that pause. And last but not the least is in terms of career transition, where they're like, maybe I need to explore another side, maybe I'm not really getting that opportunity in the organization. So I think considering your financial situations, the career goals, what does success really mean to you personally and professionally, and what is going to be the impact on your professional trajectory? So these are a couple of things which at least come to my mind as people decide what is it that they're going to do about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's very thoughtful and very comprehensive answer. I think you covered all of the reasons that I can think of. And like you were saying, I think there are a couple of areas, couple of trends which are more prevalent than the others. Like, for example, I think burnout, like you said, is actually one of the most common reasons we have also heard. Um, Mayank, from your perspective, right? Like there are all these five, six different types of reasons that Sunaina has shared, and I think all of them are fairly valid reasons why one would want to take a gap. Do you think, people who take gaps for different reasons should think about them differently? For example, when I'm taking a gap for, let's say, because of burnout versus taking a gap because I have, aging parents or, I just want to travel. So what are the things that I should be keeping in mind if I have a specific reason for taking a gap versus, having a different reason? Does my mindset, does my strategy of why I should take a career gap and how I should take it change depending on the reason why I'm taking a gap?
Sure. So if you ask me, Arjun, I guess there are two types of break. One is where one is willingly taking it for self-improvement. It is not forced by circumstances. Okay. When a gap is forced by circumstances, obviously the person is looking for a re-entry into the corporate world. And given how the market basis where the market is at that point of time, the strategy will different, the mindset has to be different, because what I've seen is people panic very easily. They are excited, then they have double thoughts, and as soon as they get into break, they start panicking, especially those who are taking a break for self-improvement. They panic the most because this decision was theirs, the circumstances didn't push it. So first thing that people need to understand is what kind of mindset you will have. That will dictate the entire, that will eventually dictate the outcome, whether you will feel more fulfilled, more satisfied, more improved or not. Second thing again is the financial aspect of it, that some breaks you can't put a time limit to it. If you are taking a break because your parents are not doing well, or because you are into deep depression, you can't say, I will give myself 3 months. Maybe it can extend for 6, maybe 9, maybe 2 years. We don't know. So, managing the finance where there is uncertainty will again be a different thing. Third thing is then your interaction with the outside world. That will also, because if the ecosystem around you is supportive, you'll be able to be comfortable in the break. So again, that strategy will also differ a lot. And if you're doing self-improvement, you need to talk to a lot of people, because this is how the self-improvement will happen. But if you're doing it for very personal reason, maybe you need to limit the number of people you want to talk. So this is how I will see different types of break. And also I'll also break the mode of career break also. It need not be a completely off from, like I guess 3 years back I wrote a detailed article on LinkedIn when, how, and why to take a career break. And this is where I have written that it need not be a full exit from corporate. You can either go for a long leave without pay with permission from your employer. You can take a sabbatical of up to 2 years if the company policy permit, or you can have an exception approval. And then lastly, the career break, where you're completely exiting from your current employer, and then you're completely on your own.
Mayank, that was helpful in terms of outlining a specific framework for people who might be doing it voluntarily versus involuntary, and how you react to those circumstances differently. I think we have a lot of folks who are sharing, their intros in the chat here, and I do want to open it up for queries very soon. But one of the things that I want to ask Sunaina, since you are in corporate HR, you're probably helping your organizations and perhaps the entire fraternity develop policies that address, from an employer standpoint, how such instances on the employee side would be treated. And like I said, there is a lot of hesitation from job seekers, from employees today to take a break because of rigid mindsets and policies in the corporate ecosystem. Do you see that changing in any form or fashion? Have you, either within your own organization or just in general, seen over the last few years or decade that things are moving in the same direction that they used to be, or in a new direction where companies are becoming more flexible towards this?
So Arjun, let me start by sharing my own journey. Before I joined Qualcomm, I was actually on a career break. And I think now as I look back, I think you can connect the dots as you look back. I think I really appreciate that, because once you've been through that journey, I think there's more appreciation for what's happening around. Now, having said that, I think, and of course, being a diversity candidate myself, let me tell you, the first thing which really came to my mind the moment I decided to come back to the corporates, I think were the own inner demons that I was fighting. All right. I don't think the corporates cared as much, but I think the devil in my head was stronger. And I'll tell you the reason why. One, I think I started, despite having worked in the corporates, I think what I was really doing was doubting my own skill and knowledge. All right. And that came in very easy. I think we are at that stage, especially, and I'm really taking my personal example. The second was you had created a whole routine outside of your work. So the other thing which came to my mind was commitment. Will I be somebody that they'll be able to commit to? Will they think I'm reliable because I took this break and I could not manage things better? The third most important thing was the confidence issue. Was I feeling less capable than the person sitting across? Will I be able to even raise my hand, put a point across, because I was out of touch with the work environment? I think the fourth was, of course, there is still a large part where there's a stigma attached to it. I think while the most widely accepted reason where women specifically go for long breaks is really maternity, right? Anything beyond that can lead to assumptions. Why couldn't she manage it better? What is it that she couldn't do? Or, and those are more assumptions in your head. And last but not the least is the networking and the connections, because you felt as if you've gone ahead and lost, all valuable opportunities, or, probably there are people who've gone ahead of you, and you really have to go ahead and take a step back. You'll have to compromise. I think the word that we hear the most. But I think, having said that, I think many organizations and companies now are really valuing these diverse experiences and the importance of a work-life integration. Also, there are platforms like LinkedIn, like Mayank just spoke about the fact how he really spoke about, or, sent out or wrote articles where you're really normalizing a career break, where people find a safe space where people really say, okay, how is it that they are able to explain their time out of work? And I think the first thing that we did was, when I was looking at coming back, was, what are my strengths? How did this break help me? And yes, I was not doing any professional course. I was taking care of a child, getting back to the workplace. We were transitioning from one country back into another city. I was helping support the family. Now, how exactly is it that I would like to position it? What are the typical questions that people can ask me? Why you? You had a break. How will you go ahead and, how do you think you'll be able to bounce back at the workplace? I'm also at a stage where I do mentor women who are looking at coming back at the workplace, and we actually go ahead and let them know. I let them know, answer the difficult question. Why you and why not you? And I think you create that script, ensure that there's a support group around. It's very easy to find people. The moment you're on a break, think about people who will tell you, oh, you'll have to compromise. Oh, it looks a little difficult. Oh, the market is tough. All of that may be true, but is that something which is your reality? To ensure that that support system gives you the confidence. Like, I remember when I even landed with a job with Qualcomm, I remember I came back and I'm like, how will I write my first email? What does Outlook look like? Will I even be able to log in? Will I remember my password? There were just so many self-doubts, but it's that support group, that peer mentorship outside of work and at work, which really pushed you through. So I think it's extremely important that you're focused. Failures will happen. This was not the only interview. There will be people who will not be okay, and that's fine as well. failure is always a part of, or rejection is a part of where you are right now. It's not that you've got all yeses throughout. But having said that, as long as you're focused, you have the right set of people around you, you have the right set of attitude. And with attitude, I don't mean with a chip on your shoulder, but with the attitude to say, yes, I took a break, but this break really helped me in what way? And you're able to articulate it. Believe you me, there are people who appreciate it and respect that.
Right. Right. I think very balanced answer, Sunaina. And I do feel though, whatever we discuss about, organizations being a little less rigid, more flexible about allowing employees with diverse backgrounds, experiences, and career breaks, I think the playing field is still not very leveled. There are still much more organizations with a rigid mindset. So Mayank, now let's move on to a slightly different topic. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's say, person has decided that they're going to take a break for one of the reasons that you and Sunaina have outlined very well. Like you said, a lot of times people start panicking within a couple of weeks or maybe a month or so into the break, right? So let's talk about how people spend their time during the break. And again, it will vary depending on why you have taken the actual break. But what are some of the things that people should think about when they have actually started their break in different contexts? One is obviously accomplish the goal for which they have taken the break, right? So they don't want to necessarily keep trying to work, keep trying to come back into the workforce because they feel like they might get left behind otherwise or not be able to break in. So how do they continue to achieve the goal that they have actually taken the break for? Second aspect, which I have also seen coming in the questions quite frequently, and you also mentioned, is the financial aspect. How do they, when they don't have a running income coming in, how do they manage finances? So these two aspects, if we can cover, Mayank, that would be great.
Sure. I think in the past 3 years, I have guided at least 100 folks on career break. And the approach I always tell people is in the first month, don't do anything. Don't do anything productive. Now, this may look a very counterintuitive approach, but the fact is, if you see how the Indian education system is, we move very linearly. Most of the time, our decisions are already made that you have to take this subject, then you have to give this exams, and very few people have time to explore what they want to do in life. They even don't have any idea. In fact, those people who are confused about taking a career break, they always tell me one thing, that if I take career break, what will I do? Because we are always conditioned to be productive. And now this is a very constrained view of living life, that you have to be productive always. So I will always tell people that first month, chill, do whatever you want to do. You want to watch any anime, you want to watch any game, you want to travel, do that. Try not to do anything productive, because taking a half-hearted approach will make you more troubled, will make you more fearful. You will try it. I know a person who took a break, and within the first one, he started searching for a job. He returned from a toxic job and went to another very toxic company and said, what did I do now? I said, I told you not to panic. So this is first thing that one needs to have in mind, that the first month, or if you don't have the luxury of a month, at least 2 weeks, just relax your body, because once your mind is clear, that is when you will be able to realize what you want to do and also what you don't want to do in life. And knowing that, I know one person who took a career. She was from a tier 1 institute. She took a career break and decided, I don't want to return to corporate, and then she went to a non-profit organization. So this is how I see taking a career break, that you need to give yourself that space, that comfort, so that your mind can start looking for ideas what you want to do. Now, second thing, in terms of finances, now this is a troubled part. If you see my 2 career breaks, when I took my first career break, I was not married. So I didn't have much of a responsibility. The immediate goal was to start a venture. So because of COVID, it got delayed a bit, but my original time frame was that first 2-3 months I will take a break, and then I will start brainstorming. I didn't know much about investing that time. I didn't have multiple income streams, so to say. So it was just a lump sum money that was in my bank account, and I felt it is comfortable quantum for me to survive 2 to 3 years. So this is how I feel. If you're unmarried, at least 1 to 2 years of money you have, it's good to go thing. If you're married, and if you see my second career break, my wife is still employed, she is earning. So I have that luxury to not think of finances well. But what I have done consciously is I have created multiple income streams. This is one thing that a lot of people who do not agree with the philosophy of career break tells the same thing, that money will always be an issue. If you ask me, and no offense meant, but the kind of corporate world we are in post-COVID, no one's job are safe, no matter which post you are, no matter what company you are working at. So anyway, you should have emergency corpus of 6 to 9 months. Anyway, you should have multiple income stream. So what in case something worse happen, you can always rely on that. So this is how I see finances. Invest well. Personally, I invested in some high dividend paying stocks, so it created an income stream. I do career guidance, etc. It created an income stream. I do public speaking. A lot of people can do a lot of stuff. You need not earn a lot of money. Even if you're from a tier 3 city, tier 2 city, you can always go back to your hometown. If you're earning 10 to 15,000 by any means, it will be enough. So this is how I feel it. 6 to 9 months of emergency corpus, plus at least have single income stream. Maybe it is just high paying dividend stock, maybe it is something, but 5 to 10,000 per month if you are getting, you will feel much more confident and relaxed when you are into a career break. And having a supportive partner always helps. Those who are married, I also feel there is a gender stereotypical issue in India, that many men I talk to, they say, I want to take a career break, but I am the provider, how can I quit my job? And that is something I feel we need to change at this juncture. If your wife is working well, then it's okay. You have the luxury to rely on her income streams. If you see, I always give this example. Sanjeev Bhikhchandani has mentioned that he was, his wife was supporting the entire family for 6 to 8 years when he was creating his ventures. So I guess it's 2024. We need to move beyond the gender roles and, look at it more holistically. This is what I feel.
Yeah, no, I
And
wholeheartedly agree.
one
Yeah,
last
go ahead. Go ahead.
one last point I want to add, because this is something I have learned from my experience and very necessary. So I paid an education loan of 22 lakhs around, and I was very uncomfortable when I was having the debt. Do not have any excess debt on you. Do not buy a 2 crore home with 1 crore, home loan. You will be paying 90,000, 1 lakh EMI. Till you are very comfortable, till you are financially very solid, do not have any unnecessary EMI. I think getting into the debt trap is what is the worst enemy of career breaks. So do not take any unnecessary EMI until you are financially prudent.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that very pointed advice there, Mayank, and it obviously shows that you have done this a few times. You have also helped many others, and that experience definitely shows. Sunaina, your last answer was something we got a lot of positive feedback on. People are really relating with, how you have candidly shared your journey of coming back into the workforce, and the imposter syndrome, or kind of the doubts and confusions you might have faced. And we'll cover all of that, because I think that's the core of what a person's experience with career break is today. How do I take it in a way where I can still come back? So we'll get into that, but I wanted to get your thoughts as well with regard to the same question that I had asked Mayank, which is, what are some of the core things that people should think about when they are actually taking a break? Like, for example, if you're on a maternity leave or paternity leave, obviously your focus will be on raising your family, your child, and all of those things. Like, in your own experience, do you feel like when people are taking some time off, is it similar to what Mayank said, or do you think like people should really focus on whatever goal they have outlined for themselves right off the bat, so that they feel some sense of accomplishment, that they actually did what they had set out to do? Or is it more relaxed? Should they think about it in a more balanced way, where it's okay to just take some time off, it's okay to not achieve anything, not be very productive, like my uncle was saying?
Sure. I think again, it's a personal, preference. It's a personal context. For me, I'm somebody who really values time. Not that I have to be productive all the time. And on that note, let me also share. When I was taking a break, I knew I'm going to come back to the corporate world. So because there was a transition in the family happening. So let me also share this. I actually did a tarot course. I knew I'm never going to be a tarot reader, but I wanted to do something which is very different. And believe you me, the kind of people I met or the relationships that you forged, or you really just heard about life experiences was so enriching. And it's not, by the way, that we don't do it at our workplace, but sometimes at the workplace, it becomes very focused on the colleagues and everything that you have. So there were times that I said, you know what, I probably just want to see a very, very different world. And when you're actually able to take that break, you come back a lot more refreshed. And I think for me personally, creativity really matters. So whether it's creating programs, whether it's engaging in conversations, I think that's something that I really flourish on. Now, having said that, I think a career break is definitely it's a valuable time, whether you're professional or personal growth. And of course for me, what time you're in, the age, context of it. So I think it definitely makes a lot of sense that I will not say you'll have all the answers, but I think even if you have all the questions is great. So to me personally, I think if I look at it, some of the productive and a little bit more fulfilling activities, as I spoke to colleagues, friends, and of course folks from, as I was doing this tarot group, was one, I think, looking at education. Are you looking at any kind of a further education which is probably enhancing your skill and knowledge? And I think what I've seen, at least in the last couple of years, going in for a degree or another MBA was something which is really picking up a lot of speed. Like you would have Ivy League colleges, NCR, etc., which are really offering a wide range of courses. The second was in terms of what is the skill that you're adding. So, or you're either learning something new, or you're kind of improving on the existing one. Let's face it, we're talking about such a different world as we work right now. At least when I started my career, let's think about it. Even when we spoke about leadership was very autocratic. It was somebody show you the vision and lead. Today, when we talk about leadership, we say, hey, does the person have humility? So during the course of your years of your career, where exactly is it that you picked up good skills or skills which you think would be relevant? And that's changing faster than what it did when we at least started off on our career. The other, I would say, is there are people, like I mentioned, who love to travel, who love to explore, which of course broadens the perspective. And it's again about how exactly do you want to position it? Why was it really required? And I think this is something which you also need for yourself. Couple of places where I saw people really, or colleagues really do well was in terms of voluntary work, because there are sometimes, there's work in the corporates that you're doing, and they'll say, hey, you're really not making a difference. That presentation or that PPT is not going to change society. Also, I come from an army background. So, seeing my father and, colleagues and friends and classmates really have that impact on, where somebody's life's being changed. And you would always get that sense, hey, what exactly is it that I'm going at impacting? Does it make a difference? Money has a meaning, but is it everything for you? And beyond that point, there will come a point that EMIs will get covered. There will come a point where you have bought your favorite car, and then what next? So I think when you keep working on yourself, you will realize there's a larger and greater impact that you want to create. So talking about volunteering, talking about consulting, freelancing, personal projects. For example, I just spoke about mentoring women who are looking at coming back to work. It is important because I do want them to have faith. I want them to know that dreams can come true. I think the one question which I hear a lot is, can I have it all? The answer is yes, but maybe not all at once. And I think that's where we tend to get lost at times. So I think you absolutely, whether you're spending time with friends, colleagues, on yourself, on, even a career planning, that's absolutely fine. But if you don't get that sense of accomplishment, I think you will feel empty inside and you'll not be able to articulate it to the person. Now, you don't have to convince the person, but think about it. The moment you feel you have an air cover, you're a lot more better to have conversations, to be able to articulate what is it that you want. So when you're not able to explain it to yourself, how exactly is it that you're going to be able to negotiate across the table? So again, like I said, it's a personal piece. You can make the most of your career break, return to work, even doing nothing, because there is stress and there is burnout, but sometimes that tends to carry a conversation or a connotation, sorry to say, hey, will the person be able to manage it here because there is stress? So I think how exactly is it that you're going to be prepared for that question if it comes your way, and the future challenges? Maybe you have that luxury that you can take a break now. Maybe you cannot take a break later. So I think it's always good to, one, of course, and as they say in dishes, we adjust salt. So we need to adjust, but those are a couple of things, Arjun, which come to my mind.
Again, very thoughtful and comprehensively answered, Sunaina. I think that was really helpful. I think the first part of your answer was especially, I think it was similar to Mayam, but perhaps in a different light, in a different context, where you talk about, it's not necessarily always about being productive, as Mayank said, and I think that's the right way to think about it. But at the same time, there could be other enriching activities that you take part in, and what is enriching can be different to different people, right? Like travel could be for one, or taking physical fitness classes for another. So it can really vary. But I think taking a break where you are partaking in those enriching activities can be helpful. It's not about always being productive or making yourself useful, but doing things that help you feel better about yourself or your life. I think that makes a lot of sense. Mayank, the next part of the discussion that we want to get into, I think this is probably the most common question on people's mind, and why I would say half the people, if not more, are here, is getting back into the workforce once you have taken a break, right? That's the most challenging part, as we all know. Now, there are several different types of challenges. I'm sure, Mayank, since you have the experience yourself, you must have experienced your own challenges. Um, the most common one that we see is, again, what we discussed initially, that there is a rigid mindset from hiring standpoint. Companies ding you, they penalize you, and don't give you a lot of interview opportunities if you have had a long break, let's say over a month or 2 months. What can people do to get over that hump of being ghosted, not hearing back on their job applications? Is there anything I can prepare before I even start applying to jobs that will help me maximize my chances of re-entering the workforce?
Sure, Arjun. So, few things here. One that it's an age-old saying that never burn bridges. I have a more selective approach to it. There are few people who are not redeemable, but you can't wage a war against your previous organization all the time. So, always have good relation with people who are professional to you, who are good to you, because uh, everyone travels in their corporate life, and people go to different companies. And if you are having good relation with the people you have worked with, you can always find your work. You can always get back into corporate. Second thing, for personally for me, what worked was again a very accidental thing. I in the lockdown, I started writing on LinkedIn, and my posts started getting popular. And the entire journey of my startup, it was like on LinkedIn, my highs, my lows, what I was going through, the success, the failures, and the story was very authentic. Also in that period, I started writing about my career break also, that I took career break because of this reason, and this is how I am transformed, etc., etc. So when I shut down my startup and I announced it on LinkedIn, I guess on the same day I had 12 job leads. Within a week, I had 50 plus job leads, because people know this guy is honest. He's telling the truth. There is no red flag, so people can find it here. In fact, interestingly, this career break, when I announced it, I already got 2 job offers. People said, once you are done with your break, please join us. So leveraging any social media platform, LinkedIn, where you can find a lot of professional. Third thing will remain networking. There are a lot of events that are happening. So assuming you are taking a career break, once you're done with the 1 month of not doing anything, expand your network, talk to people, go to events, go to these hobby classes, anything. This will always help. Fourth thing that I feel, you need to chase the right thing. If you see most traditional companies in India, the traditional conglomerates, where the now I don't want to stereotype, but I'm just talking about the patterns, because I have worked in both kind of companies. The traditional companies with people who are a little older generation, they look for red flag. Their approach is, what is the flaw in that resume, and they will be little less to accept a resume with a career break, because they are already getting a lot of normal resumes. But if you go to startups, are always good entry points, especially startups which are just pre-seeded or who have just raised series A. They are building their team, and if the market is right. So if you see, a lot of people ask me right now, career break लिया तो job मिलेगा क्या? And I tell them, अभी तो जिन्होंने नहीं लिया है उन्हें भी नहीं मिल रहा है. People are searching for 6-8 months. The market is so bad. So you can't do anything when the market is bad. But 2 years back, when there was talent war, when everyone was offer shopping, when everyone was having 5 offers in their hand, people were preferring people who can join immediately, so that they can't offer shop. So again, it's a function of market also. This is something you can't control, but this is something you need to be mentally prepared with, that maybe I shouldn't apply to a very old company. I will apply to a startup. I see a lot of startups are quite welcoming. Even the founders themselves know. Founders are able to relate with people. So, starting slow, don't have unrealistic expectation that I left at X, so अब मैं 30% of X पे ही वापस आऊंगा. Start with a good role. This is all I can think of.
Yeah, no, I think that is covered very well. I think a lot of things that you mentioned, I think people might be aware of, especially in terms of you're not burning bridges. I think that goes without saying. And I hope anybody who's taking a break, has developed good relationships and continues to maintain touch every now and then with the network. But I think one of the things, Mayank, that you have done very uniquely, and perhaps that has worked beautifully to your advantage, is building your own personal brand on LinkedIn. And that's not something that a lot of people do today. And there's no right or wrong. Some people might not be comfortable writing their thoughts in front of public. Some might be. So then I actually want to know, have you also been able to build a strong personal brand? I do believe that you have been writing on LinkedIn as well. Has that been helpful to you in terms of making non-linear career moves, or getting into the workforce once you had taken a break, those kind of things?
So to be candid, no. As I was on a career break, no. I think I had a lot of self-doubts that I was looking at, and I did see a couple of questions on the chat where they said, they're asking about how we manage the compensation or the designation. So I did take a career break, but let me tell you this: when I jumped back, because I probably had great colleagues, mentors, I came back into the corporate career with a decently substantial raise. The second was I did get my next level up, which would ideally have been promotion had I continued to stay on there. So when people ask me, does that happen? My answer is yes. Is there a lot going on in the industry? Again, the answer is yes. But that is where the key question comes in. What exactly is it that you stand for? In that meeting that you're going to have, or a corporate person that you're going to reach out to, or a startup person, why should they be invested and interested in you? I think that's a question that you want to start with. You'll really be surprised when I'm talking to a lot of women, who are looking at coming back to the career space. They are so submissive to say, so why did you take a break? And they'll say, we took a break because we had to take care of in-laws. And I'm like, that's great. And if somebody across the table asks you that, and what is your answer, and they don't have an answer to that. Now think about it. It's so elementary that you will be asked. It's absolutely a question that you can be prepared for. Tomorrow, if somebody asks you, why do you think we should pay you this much? Why do you think we should offer you this role, provided we already have candidates who are there? I think there are some of the things which are fairly elementary and they're right there. So while, to be fair, I think when I started working on my personal brand, I think it was more to, when I started working, I realized that, I am doing one kind of a work and I probably was interested. Sometimes, when you're working in an organization or you're working with a group, you tend to get labeled as, oh, somebody is from staffing, or somebody is only from a talent development, somebody only does L&D. I think the kind of person I am, I'm also somebody who partners and helps support women startup organization, which, Qualcomm goes ahead and focuses on, and I wanted to do more. I think so from there, it really started a journey to say, what exactly am I wanting to learn? So that's the place where, I started looking at my purpose, which was a little broader than just what I was doing at the workplace or what my job description really called out. So if you really see, that's kind of something which came in. The second thing I think, which is really important and which you can probably take care of, is controlling your narrative. What exactly do you want to start off with? So if Arjun's a colleague and Mayank's a colleague, Mayank and Arjun might think Sunaina is a particular way. That is because our interaction at work is limited on a particular track. How do we get to change that? So can you go ahead and control that narrative? And that's something which is it's about how do people perceive you at the workplace, right? How do you highlight your strengths, your achievements, or let's look at mitigating any misconceptions that can get created. The other, of course, is in terms of, when you talk about networking opportunities where you learn from like-minded professionals. Now, for example, looking at Mayank's journey, Arjun, yours, or mine, I really don't think in a workplace we would have gotten to meet, right? So this is a great forum where you go ahead, meet, interact, exchange ideas, stories which are there. And if nothing else, there's just so much of respect and admiration for the journey that somebody has undertaken to say, wow, that happens. And just to take that back, and in case it inspires somebody, I think can be so enriching in a day-to-day where we're really talking about, is that presentation prepared? Is that Microsoft Excel ready? Are we meeting really the deadline? So I think somewhere where you go ahead, invest your time and your effort into building your personal brand, what you're really doing is creating a powerful tool which goes ahead and supports your professional and personal aspirations as well. So it doesn't always have to be, like LinkedIn really says, looking for a job, but I think sometimes it can really be about creating that impact, just giving back that confidence to somebody or that faith. And I think that is something you can say which kind of moves me.
Yeah, that rings so true even for me, and I'm sure Mayank can relate as well. I mean, one of the reasons I have been active on LinkedIn is not just to take from the community, but also to give back. And I think that is a very core part of almost any person who has built, even a soft personal brand for themselves. They have not been able to do it just by, kind of asking for favors or, asking for things to be done for them. I think it's always been give first mentality, and then later on, if there is something that you can take back, then consider it your good fortune. I think that's a very good mindset, and a great way to look at it. I think a lot of times people expect outcomes right away when they're starting to write on LinkedIn or build a personal brand. It's just not like that. It doesn't work. And I usually I give this analogy, and I've heard it from others, so I won't take the credit for it, but building a personal brand or building a strong network is like, having a bank account. You have to make deposits first before you withdraw from the bank account. You cannot withdraw from an empty bank account. And I think that really rings true. So thanks for sharing that, Sunaina. I have a couple of pointed questions now that, Mayank, I want to ask you. Some of them have been asked by the folks in the audience here. Now,
Sure.
this is a very common question, Mayank, I'm guessing you probably get. When I'm coming back into the workforce, there are different types of approaches I can take. I can be very open, honest, candid, and I can mention it in my resume. I can also point it out on my LinkedIn. But again, I fear that there's going to be ghosting and retaliation that, this person has a break. I'd rather go for somebody who doesn't have a break. So let me hide that fact. Let me not show it in my resume and LinkedIn. Let me at least get an interview so that I can explain things and contextualize why I took a break. What approach makes more sense? Is there a set approach that one should take, or does it depend on factors?
The second one is never gonna work, because it's a connected world. Even from an HR perspective, you'll always do background check. You'll always see, as an interviewer, you'll always see that this time period is not explained. So, and even if, let us say, you are able to sail through and then it is caught later, you will be always known as a person who don't have integrity. So why to take that risk? Come out clean, because I feel when you are the most authentic self, you'll also be able to attract the best workforce for yourself. If you're going to lie, you might end up in a workforce you're not even fit for. So why to take that call? If you're coming from a career break, I'm assuming there is something that happened in your life which prompted you to take a career break. So you don't even want to go to a very conventional and a very rigid kind of an organization. You would like to go to an organization that will accept that self of yours who have taken this career. Be honest, and that way you can answer any cross questioning, any stress interview, any level of grilling. You'll be able to, because you're stating the absolute truth.
Yeah, I think that's a right opinion, at least from my perspective. Although I will be honest, I've heard mixed kind of feedback on that from even HR and recruiters telling certain candidates, "Hey, don't put this in your resume. Just try to land an interview, and then you can explain." So there's a lot of mixed opinions out there on this. But I'm glad that Mayank, somebody like you who has taken a break and navigated it successfully, has taken a strong stand on this. And I think that makes a lot of sense, because one way or the other, you will have to address that issue, right? So why not start off the relationship on an authentic and honest note, rather than playing hide and seek? I think that makes a lot of sense. Sunaina, question for you again, a slightly pointed question. There are a lot of these return to work programs that especially large companies and certain tech companies, perhaps your employer as well, have instituted to make it more seamless to absorb people who have taken a break. Question to you is, should people focus on these programs, like both men and women? Is it targeted towards a specific segment of the population? And if so, does it really work? Like, in the sense, should people depend on these programs to re-enter the workforce if they have taken a career gap?
So I think a very interesting question, and I think a very, let me tell you the way of looking at it. If you really look at most of the return to work programs which are there, at least in India, the limited knowledge that I have, I think we look at it from a women's standpoint, like typically calling them second career programs, whether they've taken it because of education, marriage, maternity, etc. The second, I think, men, where it comes to, is more to do with veterans. I haven't really seen a very thought through program which just says, because again, back to Mayank's point, can we really normalize anybody taking a career break? It doesn't have to be a man with a shift that we're looking at. But I think couple of considerations, while you can look at these programs, some of these programs, you really have to assess what are your career goals. See, I'm glad that, when we wanted to come, like when I wanted to come back to the career work, I think the first thing that I wanted to really evaluate is, what exactly is it that I want to do? Do I want to go back to the same domain that I was in, or do I want to shift gears? And if I want to shift gears, who are the people who are going to be willing to bet on me? Because that's not a skill that I've practiced. So is it something that I've gone ahead and gained and I've gone ahead and done? The other is in terms of, what really is your network, in terms of, as you are, have your priorities changed? How is it that you're aligning your job search to your current goals, values, purpose, that you're looking at? Secondly is your resume up to date? Does your resume include any new skill, new experience? What exactly is it that you gained during that break? And I think the one which worked for me, and believe you me, scared me the most, was practicing interviews. So being in HR, as you can appreciate, I have colleagues who are in HR and who are in the talent development space. They would ask me these pointed questions. Why you? Why should we hire you? We have somebody who has better experience, better network and relationships. Why is it that it would come to you? Believe me, there have been days that I would break down with that question, to say, oh my God, that means I don't, and you would go into self-value and pity. But I think it was a very, very valid question to say, how confidently will you be able to address it? So in terms of practicing it, what are the online platforms that you're going ahead and leveraging? A lot of people ask me this question, and the answer is this. In case you want to be seen with a certain, let's say I want to be seen with IT security. Okay, very random. Who are the leaders in the IT security? What are the organizations? What exactly are they doing? Am I going ahead engaging with them, whether they write posts, whether the organization does something, whether I've actually just gone ahead and sent them a note? How exactly are you going ahead and engaging? Let me be candid to say, yes, there is effort. Yes, you're not going to feel great about it initially, because you're going to feel, if I had that chair or that designation, these are the people who would have been my stakeholders. Yes, you are putting in that extra effort, but I think it is important because it just shows how committed you are. There are different roles which are there, but you can effectively navigate in the workforce and actually find a role which you're going to enjoy and you're going to cherish.
Got it. I think this was extremely insightful, Sunaina and Mayank, for both of you to be here and share your thoughts. I think we have covered a lot of ground in terms of the key questions, the common questions that people have. A lot of hesitation still there around taking a break, and I think part of the reason we wanted to do this is, both you and Mayank have beautifully outlined, is normalize career breaks, make them not be felt as a red flag, or as something that is negative on their career or in their life experience. Rather, see it as a positive and try to understand that we are holistic beings. We don't live just to work. We work so that we can live a more holistic life. I think overall, we have covered quite a few topics. I'm sure there are many other questions we could have taken. But for whoever joined here today, in case your question wasn't answered, I would highly recommend that you follow Mayank and Sunaina on LinkedIn. They are both active and available there for your questions, for messages. If I may take the liberty of saying that. And I do also want to just again highlight the fact that we at Pivot are also helping a lot of people make non-linear career moves, including when people are thinking about returning to the workforce, where you can connect with individuals like Sunaina, like Mayank, who have taken a gap and are able to guide you on how you can navigate your way back into the workforce. So do check us out in case you are looking for any help or support in this area. And Mayank and Sunaina, thank you so much once again for joining. Really, really learned a lot, firstly. And I think the way you both express yourself also, it was very relatable. I think a lot of comments that I saw, people could appreciate, your honesty, your candor, and the fact that you're really trying to make a difference in people's lives. Any parting thoughts? Mayank, we'll start with you. Any parting thoughts that you want to share?
So two things that are coming to my mind. First thing is, it will always be an emotional decision. It will never be a logical decision. If someone thinks that on pen and paper I can justify the loss of money that is happening because of career break, it's not going to happen unless you start putting a monetary tag on abstract things in life. Like, I will give you an example. If you are in a very toxic job and if your salary is like 1 lakh per month, maybe if you take a career break of 3 months, you are losing 3 lakh rupees. But maybe if you're being saved from lifestyle diseases like diabetes or BP, this is something you've never accounted for. That might happen because you're stuck in the wrong job. So always try to think of it in that way, that you won't be able to justify. The more people you will talk to, the more confused you will have. Second thing that I feel, and I think anyone who is into that space, I also started a career guidance venture, then I returned to corporate, is a tendency to always looking for very generic and free advices. If you feel you're not prepared, talk to a professional, talk to someone who is providing that service, talk to someone who can guide you and help you in that journey. Even if you're burnout, you have to go talk to a therapist. If you're just having normal problems, then maybe a mentor, maybe a guide can help you, but seek people's services. Don't try to, cut corners everywhere. So these are two thoughts on the top of my mind.
Thanks for sharing that last bit. And Sunaina, please, yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, I think I would definitely want to call out Manjari. Thank you so much for reaching out. I think it's been an honor and pleasure, being in this forum, and Arjun and Mayank, hearing from both of you. It's been a pleasure. But let me tell you that, something which really came to my mind as I was looking at my career break. And I think one of the people I responded to said I wrote a journal. And I think one of, we do write affirmations. Of course, I did my tarot course, guys. So of course I had to. But I think one of the pieces which came to my mind and I used to write it there was, sometimes you need to take a break from the grind of work to really appreciate life. And the second thought that I leave you with is, do not look at a career break as a step back. Take it as a step forward for a more fulfilling, future. And I think that's something which is going to help you. So I want to leave you with that.
Perfect. Perfect. I think that will hopefully go a long way in helping people understand how this can be a positive and enriching experience, as opposed to something that you need to fear, which is the sort of the entrenched mindset around this.